right food impact the musculoskeletal longevity?
Food is fuel for the body.
So there is a paradoxical imbalance there.
The gut is called the second brain.
Welcome back to The Aging Matters. You can't outtrain a bad diet and you can't age well without the right fuel. Today, again, we have Shayamal Vallabhjee with us, and together we are going to unpack how right food supports the healing, strength, and energy as we age. Let's start. Hello, Shayamal.
Thanks, Vikram, for having me here. This is a fantastic subject because food is medicine.
Right.
And that's where we started off, but forgot that process somewhere along the line. So hopefully in this podcast, we can get back to that.
Absolutely. So, Shayamal, let's start with this. How does right food impact the musculoskeletal longevity? What's the correlation there?
Well, the correlation is that food is fuel for the body. Fuel for the body means fuel for every single cell, fuel for the muscles, fuel for recovery. And your musculoskeletal health is directly your muscles, your cells, your posture, your bone density. And all of the fuel that helps that recovery and helps that growth comes through the food we eat. So the relationship between musculoskeletal health and performance is directly correlated to food. And food science has now got very, very granular in its understanding. We're able to now pinpoint exactly the impacts of certain things. At a surface level, when you look at musculoskeletal health, the most important thing is protein for either protein synthesis for muscle development and for recovery. And we're seeing very, very strong correlations between people who are aging, insufficient protein, and the risk of musculoskeletal injuries.
Yeah, so in the aging context, as we age, because there is more inactivity, we eat less food, but then your body's absorption is getting lesser and lesser. You need more nutrients. So there is a paradoxical imbalance there. So how do we address this?
Yes, as we get older, we move less. You're fundamentally correct about that. That is a byproduct of the aging process. We can circumnavigate that if you make a lifestyle choice around movement early on and you're able to sustain it. You can slow down that decay process, which most people cannot. As you start to age, you're right, the tendency to want to eat a lot reduces as well. You want to eat significantly less. But what's more important is the quality of what we're eating and the quality of those nutrients. The reason why we absorb less is because there's chronic inflammation in the body. That chronic inflammation is coming sometimes from environmental stimulants. Right. Sometimes it's coming from the food we eat. Sometimes it's coming from disease. Okay? All of these things are making it significantly difficult for us to absorb nutrients. So as we age, for every 100 grams we eat of something, or 100 milligrams in the case of supplements, we're absorbing significantly less. We can calculate exactly what each person's body is absorbing at areas. But fundamentally, what we need to understand is that the quality of what you eat is more important than the quantity as we age.
Understood. Shayamal, there is growing science behind gut health and its impact on musculoskeletal aspects. Could you help us understand that?
The gut is called the second brain. Mm-hmm. There are trillions of nerve endings in our gut. And the reason why the gut is called the second brain is because the fuel from the gut actually feeds everything, including your cognitive health. We call it the second brain because of the number of nerve endings that are there and the number of neuroreceptors that are there. The reason why gut health is so important, and there's so much of emphasis in there, is because when we're eating the wrong foods, what happens is our gut lining starts to get perforated. Gluten is one of the biggest things that perforate our gut lining. The second thing that perforates it is the microplastics in our food and our water. And the third thing that is a very, very large contributor to it are chemicals that are in our aerosols, that are being leaked in sprays, all of these things. These seep into the gut, perforate the gut lining. What happens when you perforate the gut lining is that larger particles of food or molecules get past that into your bloodstream. Mm-hmm. As a result of this, you become insulin resistant. It starts to impact the quality of your pathology. It starts to go through your blood. It starts to perforate the blood-brain barrier. The blood-brain barrier, for example, is that layer of blood capillaries that protects the health of the brain. Now, things that shouldn't even be getting to the blood-brain get there because of a perforated gut. So, gut health is essentially the starting place of where we should look at nutrition. We should be eliminating foods that perforate the gut lining. We should be reducing foods that create inflammation in the gut. And then your recovery can go up, and then also your absorption of quality nutrients will go up as well. So your food is starting to work for you.
Right. That's a very powerful statement. We have to make food work for us and our timely requirement as we age. As we grow older, pain and joint stiffness, they increase, and people generally associate that and call it a general symptom of aging. But does food have any role to play in this?
Food has a role to play in every single thing. If you eat the wrong food, as I've said numerous times, it increases inflammation in your body. Inflammation in your body will slow down the recovery process, will accelerate the aging, it will accelerate the degeneration of cells and accelerate the degeneration of tissues. So yes, food plays a vital role in how we age, how we recover, in every single aspect. It's critically important. What we need to start doing is starting to bring the body more into alignment with nature and more into alignment with natural elements. So if I take this discussion a little bit towards the 5 elements, which is really essential. Okay, the 5 elements are earth, fire, water, air, and space.
Right.
So how do we bring our body into alignment with the 5 elements? Because a lot of it is connected to food. And a large amount of our food, the wrong foods that we're eating are showing up in our blood pathology. So for example, you find India, high diabetic population. We're finding highly vitamin D deficient. You're finding high vitamin B deficiencies in there. These are impacting muscle tissue, they're impacting postural health, they're impacting even the way we grow and the way we heal. So how can we bring this back using 5 elements? So fire is an essential element for the human body. Fire is the ability to get that vitamin D from natural sunlight. But food absorbs vitamin D better than we do. So for people, I recommend, I said, if you can't spend time in the sun, or you can't for whatever reason because of the quality of air, take your vegetables and leave them out in the sun for about 30 minutes. They'll get a bit wrinkled, but they will absorb vitamin D. Consuming those without overcooking them is a beautiful way to get that vitamin D in. The second is water. We all know that hydration is critically important. Yeah. People always say, drink 3 liters of water. The truth is that the role of food and water is understated. We shouldn't be drinking 3 liters of water. 60% of the food we eat should be water-rich foods, which means when you heat them or when you cook them, they release water. So mushrooms, spinach, tomatoes, any vegetables that sort of release water when you cook, hydrate the body better than actually drinking. This is the next way. If you look at the third element, which is earth. Earth energy comes into us by eating whole plant-based foods. We spoke about the gut. What determines gut health is the quality of your gut microbiome. The quality of your gut microbiome is directly proportional to the number of whole plant foods that you eat. The variety, the diversity, and the quantity of whole plant foods determine the quantity and the health of your gut. So that's the third thing. And the other 2 are very important. One is air, which is your breath, and we can talk a little bit about breath work at some stage. Right. And the last is space. Space is fasting. And incidentally, fasting is the only practice that's common in every single culture and every single religion in the world. Because when the body starts to rest, the mind starts to rest as well. There's an intricate relationship between the body and the mind, and fasting tends to bring that closer together than anything else. So why I'm sharing this is because once we start to align, a lot of these things we perhaps heard from our grandparents or our grandmothers were actually true. But because of information being adulterated, different people pushing different aspects of it, we're getting the wrong information or we're getting it in pieces, and as a result, we can't put the puzzle together.
It's very interesting framework that you suggested, 5 elements and they connect to your food's impact on your musculoskeletal health. However, for most of us, this might be very overwhelming. So if I have to request you suggest one habit, which let's say I have to start adopting today in terms of food and musculoskeletal wellness, what would that be?
So the one habit would be to try to bring in as much diversity in your food. Diversity in the vegetables, diversity in the colors, because the colors are your antioxidants. And the second thing is be mindfully aware of the quality and the quantity of protein you're eating. India for sure is a protein deficient country. We should be consuming, the old recommended dose was 1 gram per kilogram of body weight, depending on how active you are. Now we suggest 1 gram per pound of body weight, right? So, and as you age, start to get more protein in, because protein synthesis is really, really important. But if you have any gut conditions or if you have any kidney conditions, please speak or consult with the doctor, because protein synthesis is highly impactful on the kidney and you'll need to flush that out as well. But protein quality and quantity, together with the diversity of vegetables and fruit that you're eating, will sustain good gut health.
So diversity is important here as it is everywhere else.
As always, yes.
Right. Thanks, Shayamal. What we eat shapes how we age, right down to the last cell of our body. In the last segment after this, we'll buy in all of this together and we'll talk about how mindset, culture, and belief is crucial in our aging journey. Stay tuned. Thank you.